long time. Can you on the recording? Great, thanks. So, Manju, welcome back. So we are trying to discuss about the JBoss CLI yesterday, okay? And as part of that, we discussed about the read operation. We had a little bit touch base on the write operation also. So we'll continue talking about the remaining one, okay? But before that, okay, I had an email from you, okay, about Shiva, are we missing out any of the topics I mentioned yesterday, or would we be done? Okay, and frankly speaking, yeah, the topics whatever you shared to me on the other day, okay, let me share my email. Are you able to see my email?
No. Yeah.
Okay, so JBoss deployment is something which we already done, okay, and transaction is a small topic which we can complete it within a very few, it's just hardly half an hour of topic, okay, because transaction in JBoss itself is a bigger one, but when it comes to the exit and the non-exit transaction, there's something which you asked me. So the concept remains the same, either it's an XA or non-XA, okay, but we need to know about something called as in two-phase commit, okay, what is meant by global transaction, for which, okay, I asked you all to say to me what is the differences between the XA data source and the non-XA data source, okay,
I've got
and yeah, sorry, you're saying something?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't check the email which I sent you. I sent you a couple of days earlier, I think. But regarding the XA and non-XA thing, I just had a look over yesterday and wanted to say, but I think those are already included in this topic list.
No problem, no problem. Okay, and messaging and security, as I said, okay, still we haven't started off it. Okay, and I'm not sure if while I shared with you, shared me an email with me. Okay, I said this one or not. Okay, but JBoss Web Console and how do we do the monitoring from the JBoss Admin Console? We already talked about it. I'm just say if you remember, I'll show you my access admin. Yes,
no, that's fine. The heap size and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's and fine. These four topics are something that are pending. Okay, security, messaging, clustering, load balancing, or HTTP web server configuration. Okay, and after that, okay, we'll be talking about how do we configure the JVM, what is meant by thread dump. Okay, and as I said, for troubleshooting, you can help me with any issue of your convenience. Okay, I'll let you know one while we are trying to start the JVM, saying that hey, tomorrow or day after tomorrow would be our last session. Then on that day, you can email me any issue of your convenience. I'll try to say to you, how do we troubleshoot whenever a particular issue comes in a typical retail architecture? Okay, when my user is trying to hit my application present sitting on an application server accessible via load balancer, then followed by a web server, how do I troubleshoot an issue? Okay, I'll give you an idea about that. Clear?
Sure. Thanks. Yeah.
And messaging security is something probably will start tomorrow. Yeah, I'm planning to start tomorrow a new topic. So I'll pick up mostly the clustering, okay, or web server, and or let me pick up the security itself tomorrow, okay. Then once I'm done talking about security is a very topic which small topic which generally doesn't span for more than one to 1.2 hours max. Okay. Unless until we are trying to talk in depth about something called as an internals of this security SSO lab configuration. Okay, it doesn't take for more than 1 to 1.2 hours. Okay, so once we are done talking about the security, I'll then pick up the clustering followed by web server. Or no, I'll pick up the messaging followed by clustering with web server. Then I'll talk about the JVM. So that's what is the plan, and those are the topics that are still pending for us. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. And also, I've checked the domain.xml and host.xml yesterday, and I couldn't see the details you had, like the port offset or something like that. But there were many other things in the domain.xml. I'm not quite sure. I used the 6.40 version.
No problem. No problem. No problem.
No, that's fine. We can take it later. You can continue with the class.
Let's continue, because anyway, today's topic is a very small one. Okay. I was a little confused whether to talk about that one or when to pick up any new topic. Okay. Yeah, I'll clarify your questions, then we'll go about that. Yeah. Extensions, we already know about what is meant by extension. Okay. We also know about the
There is no deployment extension over here.
It will
Deployment
not be
scanner.
there by default.
You
By
have to
default, it will not
include
be
it.
there. No, no,
Okay.
no. The moment you deploy any application, either from the CLI or from the admin console or through the deployment, so not through the deployments, my bad. Okay. Whenever you try to do any deployment, either from the admin console or from the CLI, automatically a tag gets created. If you see here the SHA-1, okay, which is in security Unicode,
The
okay,
product.
this one we
Yeah.
can't generate it manually. It's auto-generated. The moment you try to create a server group, if you see here, if you remember our topic, okay, while trying to talk about the server groups, I deleted the two server groups called as a main server group and secondary server group, if you remember or not, okay. Main server group was belonging to a profile called as a full profile, and the other server group was belonging to a profile called as a full -ha. I said that I want to start domain plainly. As of now, I don't know what is meant by server group, so let me delete it. You remember? So after
Yeah.
deleted it, I created a server group. Automatically, it comes here. Similarly, when you do a deployment, automatically it comes here. Never and ever delete or comment out this particular tag. If you comment out, your application wouldn't be working.
Okay. Okay.
Clear? If you deploy
Yeah.
two applications will be coming here. If you deploy 20 applications on your domain, all the information about that will come here.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why is it that is coming only in domain.xml file? Why isn't it coming in the host.xml file?
Because the host.xml can vary for slave and master, whereas domain.xml remains the same when you start up the master, like by default.
Not clear. I'll give you an answer. Okay. Whenever you're trying to do any configuration, okay, which has to be reflected, for example, you're creating a server group. Does a server group creation has a scope that it should be only be visible under master, or it should be only visible under slave? When you create a server group, okay, does it has to be visible only? Can you make a flexibility wherein which it would be visible only for a master, only for a slave, or only one particular host? Can you do that? When you create a server
No.
group, it will be visible. That's the reason, if you remember the GUI screen of your admin console, if you remember the GUI screen of your admin console, when you go to the domain, okay, below the domain, you will be seeing the host configuration, wherein which you can select master or slave. But if you see your server group, okay, it's present independent of your master or slave. You're able to see that?
Yeah.
Okay. That means to say that, okay, the server group creation, okay, isn't dependent upon how many master slaves you have. Okay, how is a slave communicating to the master? This is a configuration that is global. Okay, when I'm saying that this configuration is global, which could be visible or which could be scope for all the slaves that are connecting to this particular master, that means to say that, okay, it should be available in the domain.xml file. Clear? Because this is a configuration that should be visible to all the hosts who are connecting to me. Clear? That's
Yeah.
the reason. Similarly is the deployment. Okay, you might do the deployment on server 1 or server 2 or both of them, okay, but to whichever the servers you're trying to target your application, it might belong to the servers present in the master, or it might belong to the servers present in the slave, okay, but still deployment is something you're trying to initiate it through the domain controller or through master. That's the reason it will be available only in the domain.xml file. Clear? You're trying to create a server. What is a server creation? The server creation is a configuration at your host level. That's the reason you'll be seeing in your host.
Okay.
Am I clear?
Yeah.
Any questions?
No.
No, that I feel a little confusion. Is it clear?
Yeah, because
Not
the
clear.
domain.xml file I've seen had many number of options, like I don't know, if you just open the XML file, I can see like what is the version you're using? Is it 6.4 only, no?
Yes, yes, 6.4 only. Shall I? I'll prove it here. One second.
No. I saw it on the admin console. That's fine. Just want to look at the. So,
Yep. This is my domain.xml file. Can you able to see it, Manju?
yeah, I can see. Just go down, please, with the interfaces.
Interfaces, you'll not find it here. You'll find it in the host.xml file.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. We'll continue because I'll write down what I've seen, what questions I wanted to ask. And
No problem. Just write it down. Okay.
yeah.
I'll pick it up. Cool.
Yeah, good.
So
Thanks.
now we know, okay, we know few concepts related to the, sorry, yeah, we know the, what is meant by CLI. We discussed about couple of options related to the CLI, okay, and we know about how do I read a resource, okay. We also know about how do I write a resource. Now next question comes, okay, Shiva, when you're trying to write a resource, you just shown me how do we modify or add a particular parameter. Let's say that I have a parameter in my data source called as in min connection pool and max connection pool. So whenever I'm trying to modify the size related to them, you told me about that. Okay. Do we have any other concepts related to the write attribute? Read attribute, what are the scenarios I can use the read attribute? Whenever you want to read a particular resource. Clear? Whenever you want to read a particular resource, okay, in all the scenarios, you can comfortably use a read parameter. In the sense that, for example, I say jboss-cli.sh. Okay. Now, okay, I created a data source. Okay, I want to verify the data source is successful or not. Then I can use a test connection. Similarly, I want to read about a particular parameter that is there inside my data source. I don't know what is the parameter for min connection pool, max connection pool, okay, the username and password. So if I want to write or overwrite them, okay, then I need to know about the list of parameters. I can use a read mode, or I can use a read hyphen description, okay, or whatever the arguments that are there related to the read. It will help me out to read a particular resource. For example, okay, if you see here, I'll perform a read operation. Read hyphen resource, I'll try to pick up. Let me go from the profile itself. Default profile. Subsystem equal to data source subsystem. Okay. What is the data source I've got? Yes, this is the data source I've got. The moment I say read hyphen resource, it will give me the complete info about my data source. Okay. In a similar way, if I don't know what exactly each and every parameter is says about, I can say read hyphen description. Okay. I can either go with a read hyphen resource, or either I can go with a read hyphen description. So read hyphen resource, read hyphen description, read hyphen attribute, read hyphen whatever the parameters that are there after the read, they all will help me out to read a particular resource or read a particular configuration. Clear?
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the similar one only, we also talked about the write attribute. Okay. what I can do with the right attribute? The right attribute will help me out to write a particular value to a data source. For example, I want to write a update the password of my database. I can comfortably do that. How I can do that? As I can simply say parameter as equal to password, okay, whatever the value that is there, okay, I can mention that particular value and I can press the enter button so that, okay, the value would be overridden. Clear?
Yeah.
If I want to update a username, I can comfortably do that. Right attribute will help me out to override, update an existing parameter, an existing variable related to a particular configuration. If I want to update a particular parameter related to a particular configuration, I can always use a right parameter. Clear?
Okay. Yeah.
Shiva, one question here. Can I use the right attribute? Because if you see here in your environment, okay, for example, if you see here, my bad, sorry. Okay, let's say that, okay, in my host, or let me try to get the information about the server group. Okay. Okay. If you see read hyphen resource, okay, for my server groups, if you see here, I can see that there's a server group called as in test hyphen server group. Okay. Anything and everything related to this particular existing server group, I can modify it. Shiva, one question here. I want to write or create a particular new server group. Can I use a read operator? No. In all the scenarios wherein which you want to create or update, not update, whenever you want to create a new configuration related to a particular resource, then you have to use an operator called as an add operator. Clear?
Okay. Yeah.
Write operator, when you use it to write,
Update.
overwrite or
Update.
updated existing parameter related to a particular configuration. If you want to add a particular new configuration to a particular environment, in those scenarios you'll be using the add operator. Clear? For example,
So we won't be, if we want to update the configuration, for example, if I want to update the configuration for the port or something like that, or some parameter, I mean, in the configuration itself, then we wouldn't use, right?
you would be using red. Why? Because the port number is already an existing parameter. The thing is that you might not have initialized it.
Okay.
IP, this is already given to you by the JBoss. Okay, you can use the right operator. But server groups, okay, I want to create a new server group. I don't want to play around with the existing server group. Because you told that Shiva, I want to create a new server which belongs to a profile called as full hyphen HA. The test hyphen server group, okay, belongs to a default profile. I want to create a new server that belongs to the full hyphen HA profile. So obviously I have to create a new server group, correct or not?
Yeah.
So in those scenarios, okay, you'd be using the add operator.
Okay.
Clear? Not clear?
Yeah.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, clear.
good. So if you're clear, let me show you the lab on that. Uh, what is the host? Let's say master. Why coming here? Don't know. Sorry. We are trying to create a new server group. I missed it. I missed it. Okay, cool. Let me show you that. Let me show you that. Okay, if you want to create a server group, okay, what are the name of the server group you want, you can give. Okay, let me give a server group name as full hyphen test hyphen full hyphen server group. Okay, since I'm trying to create a new server group, I'll say add. Okay, and what are the parameters that are related to the server group? We need to define to which particular profile it has to belong, to which particular socket binding it has to belong. Socket binding is nothing but, if you see here in your profile, depending upon the type of profile, okay, I'll have the socket binding group defined. For full profile, I'll have full hyphen sockets. For full hyphen HA profile, I'll have full hyphen HA hyphen sockets. So like that, you need to define the socket binding group. Okay, let me say full hyphen sockets. Okay, next one I want to define is about the profile. Okay, what is the profile it has to belong to? It has to belong to the full profile. Okay, and if you want to do an port offset related to the servers that are belonging to this particular server group, you define that. Let me define this port offset as 6. Press the enter button. Clear? How do we add?
Yep.
Any questions?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Can you tell me how do we do the deployment? You want to do the deployment of an application, okay, by from the CLI. Any guess on how we can do that?
I have to check the options like slash, just press enter please.
Never
enter.
press enter, use the tab key.
Tab,
okay.
Yeah.
Shiva, 1 second here, I'll use the tab key, but the problem here is that I don't know where exactly is that.
Info.
No, not even deployment info.
Deploy.
Yeah, deploy. I'll give a simple technique, okay, which would be easy for you. So whenever, for example, if you see here server group itself, I thought that rather than using from the root, okay, since server group is something that is belonging inside the configuration tag, I thought that, okay, I'll try to go to the profile or a host and I can get that. But I'm not able to get the option. So whenever you're stuck with, okay, how exactly or where exactly this configuration is there, remember your GUI tool called as an admin console. Okay, in the GUI tool called as an admin console where you're seeing the deployments, you're not seeing it under domain or under server group or under server or under any particular subsystem. It is available as a separate tab. So that means it will be there in the root only. Okay, but if you're trying to talk about a data source, where is the data source present? The data source is a subsystem. So when I'm saying it's a subsystem, it has to belong to a particular profile. Correct or not?
Yeah.
So in those scenarios, first you have to go to the profile. Okay, you have to ask them, hey guys, can you confirm what is the profile to which you want me to create a data source? They'll say that it's a default or a HA or a full hyphen HA. Whatever the profile they have to they want to mention, they'll mention that. Okay, then here we have a subsystem called as a data source. Then you can select whatever the other operation you want to perform. Clear? You can give any name to that, okay, and then you can say add operation. Why you have to say add operation? Why can't you use an write operation?
Because it's a new one you want to do.
Perfect. Clear?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now let me go to the deployment option. Okay. Once I go inside the deployment option, what I have to do now?
Press tab.
Pressed it.
When we do a deployment, we'll deploy to the server group, the whole server group. So
let's say that the server group is available with me. No need to create it.
but you need to mention the server group, right? Like where
Yes.
you want to
How?
deploy it.
I want to deploy a brand new application called as shiva.var file, which will help any student related to the training department. With a single mouse click, they can get the info about the status of the training, where are the recordings present, like that. Blah, 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 things will be done by that.
Is there anything like slash deployment is equals to the server group name or like server group, something like that?
As rightly said by you, I was just trying to do that, but I'm not able to get that.
So equals to example.var.
I need to deploy a brand new application, shiva.var
So,
file.
I mean, I don't know the exact command syntax, but you would give add and the deployment var file name, and also the the server group which it needs to be deployed to.
Okay. Whatever the name you want, you can give. Let me give the same example. Not example, version.var, sorry. Okay. To do this, okay, it will not work. The reason why is that it will not able to find the version.var in the current working directory. Correct or not? If you see here, you are seeing version.var, perfectly fine. Okay, I'll understand because okay, you're saying that okay, Shiva, there is an var file, okay, present. You pick up that one, okay, is what you're saying. I totally understand because we both are friends. We can understand each other. Okay, but how do I do it? Okay, in case
you need to add it to the deployment folder first.
Yep, I cannot add it. How do I do that? I'll explain you. Okay, so this deployment is something which will not do it once in a year or once in a month. Correct or not? You'll be doing it regularly, at least once in every month or twice in every month. Correct or not? So every time executing using the deploy command or the deployment command is really tough for you. Correct or not?
Yeah.
So what we'll try to do is that we'll not do it in this way. We'll put whatever the things, okay, I have to execute in a batch file. Clear? Okay. Whatever the commands I'm trying to execute. You remember your WS admin scripting tool? Work with the WS admin scripting tool?
Yeah, long back, yeah.
Okay. In a WS admin scripting tool, okay, let's say that if you have to do a deployment, okay, we go to the WS admin app mode, okay, and we try to do the deployment. But let's say that this is something which we have to do it regularly. So every time I can't log into the WS admin, every time I can't execute those 5 or 10 commands, I have to execute it. So what I'll try to do is that I'll package it in a form of a file and I'll give it to the JBoss so that, okay, it will pick up that particular file and do the deployment.
Okay.
Clear? How we try to do that? Very simple. For that, first of all, create a file. Okay, whatever the name of the file you want, you can give it. I'm trying to say I'll put it here saying deploy.cli. Clear? You can give any name, you can do anything, but this is just only from my knowledge sake. So what I'm trying to do is that, okay, I'm trying to say it as jboss-deploy.cli. Okay, so now you say batch. Why you're trying to say batch? Because this is a command that has to get executed as a batch file. Okay, now there is a method called as a deploy method. Shiva, how do I know that there's a deploy method? Once you're convenient with your CLI, you'll be knowing about, okay, where, how do we do a deployment, where do we read a resource, okay, where exact is your subsystem present, all these things you can comfortably get it. Clear? And where is my application present? Okay, my application is present. Okay, 1 second. You're able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the location where I have my example.var file. Clear? I think we already deployed the example.var file, na?
Yeah. You can use version.var.
Yeah, we can use version.var. Okay. You said, hey, there's a location where your application is there which you want to pick it up. Perfectly fine. But you also have to say to which particular server groups you want to target this application. How do you say that? Okay, -- server -- group. Okay, and we already created a server group. What is the name of the server group? Test -- server group. Okay, this is the name of my server group to which I want to target my application. Okay, if you think that Shiva, this application is an application which has a regular configuration changes, so these changes will not be reflected unless until the servers aren't restarted, then you say restart -servers. Okay, you should get the option here, very simple. Clear? You see something called as a restart servers here. The moment you say in restart -servers, all the servers inside your domain or in your master, irrespective of whether they belong to the slave or master, they get restarted.
Okay.
Clear?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now you executed that command also. So now after you give instructions, okay, now it has to start. So that's the reason I say run -batch. Clear? Not clear?
Yeah, clear.
Okay, now we'll try to run this particular batch file as part of our execution. So to do that,
so for anything to be executed, we put like batch and run batch in that file.
yes, mandatory, because that's a batch in the sense there's some set of instructions which need to get executed. It's not like that you execute one instruction, take 100 minutes of break, come back and do it. Not like that. Everything has to go in a single shot.
Okay. Okay.
Clear?
Yeah.
JBoss-CLI -- controller. Okay. Then we have to give the IP and the port number of our CLI. Don't you think I'm missing something? Controller, fine. I know you're asking me to give the location where the master is there, but it also has to have a mandatory instruction. Otherwise, it will have to again say connect, and I have to give the IP and the port number of my master IP and the master CLI port number. Clear? Remember the syntaxes, it's very, very important. Clear? Not clear? Manju, clear? Not clear?
Sorry, I was on mute. Clear.
No problem. So if you see here, I got my CLI under my downloads folder. Downloads, okay. What is the name of the file? Deploy.cli. Clear?
Yeah.
What I have did is that unrecognized arguments. Why? Server hyphen group isn't correct. Sorry. Server group correct only. It's correct. Hyphen server hyphen group.
Server
Sorry,
groups.
sorry. Server group, sorry. Sorry, my bad.
I think admin console is much better than this.
No, it's only once or twice we'll have this challenge, okay?
No,
But
no.
believe
I
it or
mean,
not,
you need to keep track of like all those commands and I mean options and things like that. I mean, you can check with the tab thing, but
remember if this oh my god, shit.
what is the
You know the
turning?
problem? There's a space between Shankar and data.
Okay.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. Give me a minute. I'll keep it in some other location. What I did is that, okay, I copied it inside my JBoss. Generally, we should not do it in that way, but since it's not able to pick up the spaces in the gap, so I'm doing it in that way. Clear?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even here also I modified the path. No, it's not getting reflected. Clear? Yeah. There's a problem with the Windows. So what essentially what we did is that, see, successfully executed. Now if you want to deploy an application, you can just use the same script and you can ask your developers to keep it in that particular location, and every time you can do the deployment. Very one execution, go for a coffee break and come back, it will be done.
Okay.
Rather than you go through the manual steps every time. So what essentially I want to highlight here is that, okay, we know how do we execute a deploy command by being inside the CLI. Any commands which I want to execute, okay, I can directly get into the CLI and I can execute that, or else whatever the list of commands I have to execute it, I can keep it inside a batch file and I can execute it. Clear? These are the multiple ways of doing it. Here one question here, okay, is there any other way I can invoke the CLI? You can invoke the CLI assuming that your operating system supports the GUI capability. You can invoke the CLI even in a GUI mode also.
Okay.
Clear?
Okay.
The same here. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. You give you the complete command. Let's say you want to execute any operations on that. If you want to update, no, let's not go through the deployment every time. Let's go to the data source otherwise, or servers. Inside the server profile, not, I don't have anything in the full. Let me go to the default profile. Inside the default profile, I want to go to the subsystem called as a data source. Where is my data source present? Security, transaction, Jax, Reverb, security, Pojo, data source. Okay. Inside the data source, I want to get the information about the data source called as an. I want to get the info about the JNDA name. Okay. I can submit this. Clear? I can just simply go through them, okay, and I can submit it. Okay, I get the verbose in the sense that if something is going on wrong, I can even try to troubleshoot that one also. Clear?
Okay.
Or else you can say read hyphen source. Okay, so something is going on wrong, if something went bad, okay, all the minute information related to that we can get it here. Let's say I want to define a right attribute. Not this one. I'll not modify the JNDA name because these are needed for me. Give me any other configuration which I can modify. Full hyphen has an data source, test data source. I'll modify that otherwise. Okay. Let me modify the min connection pool, right attribute. Okay. What is the value you want to define? Let's say 2 is the value you want to define. Okay. Submit the query. You get that complete info. Clear? I'm not doing anything. Okay. Similarly, if you go to the deployments also. Okay. There's nothing for us to do. Okay. Go to the deployment service. Right click, whatever the operation you want to perform, it will say to you whatever the eligible operations that can be performed. Okay, if you can't perform an add operation, okay, for example, it will not show you the add operation here, but under the deployment you can perform an add operation. So you can perform a read operation. You can click on that. Okay, whatever the attribute you want to read, you can mention that, it will give you that. Okay, for example, let me go here. I don't want to modify this, but let's say I want to modify this. Okay, I'll give the same value. You see here, you get the query automatically. This I can take it, okay, and I can execute it. Clear?
Okay.
How do we invoke the CLI? I can invoke the CLI and I can enter into the CLI, and what are the list of commands I want to perform, I can perform. Assume that, okay, there are 10 commands which you have to perform regularly by logging into the admin console. You put all those 10 commands in a sequential way which you want to execute. Put batch in the start, and at end of it put run-batch. Okay, take this particular file and provide it when you're trying to start the CLI. Provide it as an argument with the name --file. Okay, and press the enter button. Automatically, assuming that the syntaxes are correct, it will execute the file and it will let you know without entering inside your CLI. Shiva, I don't know how do we execute the commands, what are the different attributes that are available. I want to know about it. Okay, just simply go to that particular command builder, and what are the commands you want to execute. Okay, you invoke the G, assuming that your operating system supports the GUI capability, you invoke the GUI. Okay, you can do that. Clear?
Okay.
Any questions?
No, I mean, once you do lab, like, I can get more questions. As of now, it's clear.
Good. Seems to be very simple, but one little practice, okay, will sort out all the issues for you. Okay,
Yeah.
but believe it or not, it's very simple. Do you think CLI is easy or this one is easy? Frankly speaking, if you ask me, I felt CLI was damn easy when compared to any one of them. Because, okay, WS admin or your WebLogic scripting tool, they seem to be a little bit complicating for me. I thought of talking about another thing also. There's something called as a snapshot. Okay,
Did we
what
talk
is a
about this
snapshot?
in infinity span at all, or is it?
Infinite span is not something that comes here. It will come in the clustering and web subsystem. I'll definitely talk about that, because without that, okay, we'll not be able to. We have something called as an infinite span, J groups, okay, all those things. Okay, how does the cluster instances communicate with each other? We have a separate topic for that. Okay, and believe it or not, unlike WebSphere, it's not that complex. It's very simple and easy to understand.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you see here, when you go back to your domain configuration, okay, any changes you're trying to make to your domain or your host, okay, you get a backup of it. When there's some folder called as a snapshot, okay, there's some folder called as current, okay, and apart from that, it will give you the information about your backup file that is being taken. So you have one question here, the backup is there happening up, but I want to take the snapshot. I want to take the backup of my current environment related to my domain. What do you have to do? Simply log into the CLI.
Can't see it. Yeah, sure.
Oh, sorry.
It's frozen.
How about now? It's coming. You're able to see my mouse movement?
Yeah.
Good. I'm not sure what's the problem. Yeah. So any configuration changes you're trying to make, okay, either your domain or your host, okay, a backup would be created automatically by the JBoss. Okay, you said no, sure, not that one, but I want to take the complete backup of my environment. Okay, complete backup of my configuration environment. There's something called as an take snapshot. The moment you take
sorry for interrupting. Where is the backup created automatically? In which folder?
Configuration, domain, and host. Clear?
Configuration, main host. Okay.
When you go to the configuration of your master or slave, you'll be seeing there whichever the files you modified, according to that it will be created. Only the XML files backup will be happening automatically. But if you want to explicitly take a backup, okay, or if you want to take a complete snapshot of your environment, okay, of configuration, simply say take snapshot. Nothing you have to do. Okay, if you see here the result, okay, it's there in this particular path. Okay, domain XML, snapshot, domain XML configuration, history. Oh, sorry, I'm referring it in the slave. I have to go to the master. See here, the 2 to 3 snapshots I have taken here. It will be here. Clear?
It will just create the snapshot of whatever you're giving the domain or the host or slave or something like that.
It will not take the, by default it will not take the slave, by default it will pick up only the master. You can refer to the file, okay, whatever your domain configuration is there, it will take the complete backup of that. Clear? Clear, not clear, okay.
I'm just thinking about like taking a snapshot of all the configurations under that domain, like
You can comfortably do that, because if you're trying to take the backup of your domain.xml file, okay, in that you are achieving the same thing. Okay.
Okay.
Clear, not clear? Did we talk about the cd command also?
Yeah.
Any questions on the cd command?
CD is a normal CD, Unix CD, right?
Yeah, of course in Windows or Unix we have the same. Yes, that's change the directory.
Yeah.
I can take the snapshot at any level. Okay.
Okay.
Any questions on read, write, attribute, GUI, or take snapshot, or how do we execute the batch files?
No.
Okay, run batch, okay, the GUI, the add attribute, the read hyphen description, these are very important, both from your real-time point of view and from the work point of view. You want to go through it once?
The snapshot here, what you created in the CLI, you went to the domain directory and then did a take snapshot.
Yes. Yes. I have a question, if you're clear. I want to start a server. Can you help me out on how do we start a server belonging to a particular master? I don't want the command, okay? I just want the flow, that's it. There's no need for me to say, hey, this is a command you need to execute, Shiva. This is the part, this is the thing you have to do it. I just want you to help me out with the command I need to, the flow I have to follow. Just the flow.
Slash profile, maybe profile, and then subsystem under that.
In subsystem, do you have anything?
You
You have your servers created in your host. Okay. Let's say I want to start a server that belongs to a host called as a master. Okay. Inside this, okay, you go to the server hyphen config, okay, and whatever the server you have got it, okay, try to get the name of the server. If you press the tab key, it will show you the list of servers you have got, okay. Then press the tab key, okay. What you want to say, what you want to do with on that particular server, you say you want to stop, start, restart, whatever the things you want to do, you can do that. That's the reason I said remembering the flow, okay, is very important. Okay, if you see here, the same thing if I want to do with the GUI also, after I log into the GUI, what do? I go to the runtime, domain, okay, I go to the domain and I select the server, okay, to which it belongs, okay, master or slave, okay, and then I start or restart the server. If I have to restart all the servers that are belonging to my server group, being in the root folder itself, I simply say restart group. Same here also. If you want to start all the servers that are belonging to a particular server group which belongs to a particular domain controller, simply say restart servers. All the servers will be started.
Okay.
Clear? So depending upon your requirement, you have to remember the flow. Subsystems will not contain the server information. It contains information about your data source, your mod cluster, your messaging, your profile related properties. Those things will be there, not related to the servers. Clear?
Okay. Okay.
Any questions? Don't worry, I'll not ask any questions.
No, it's not that. Unless I, practice, I won't be knowing properly. Like now, it seems to be clear, but I'm a little bit confused about the flow, so I have to practice.
Just go through it once. If you have any questions, you can let me know. Okay. So I want to start a new topic, but yeah, two reasons. Crowd is a little less, and since we have got only another 20 more minutes, I don't want to start any new topic now. Tomorrow I'll start a new topic, okay, wherein which we'll try to talk about what is meant by SSL, how do we configure an SSL, okay, and how do I configure an SSL both from the GUI and CLI, okay. I'll show you. I'll not do the lab on the GUI. I'll just show you, hey, this is the option, but I'll show you from the CLI.
Okay. Shiva, I've got one question, like, see, if the JBoss is installed with the yum install, right?
Update.
And you know, it just creates the files in the default folders and stuff like that. But if I want to create, like, you know, when use a Docker image or something like that, or automate builds or some deployments or things like that, what restrictions does it have? I mean, I know some of the files will be owned by root, and it's hard to maintain the files because they are all scattered over the different file systems and stuff like that. But what, I mean, what
okay,
are the, yeah.
Answering your first part of the question, okay, Docker images are generally meant in the cloud environment, okay. So when you're using a Docker images, you'll already have a CloudFormation template that has already been defined, saying that, hey, there's a location where I have my software and this is how you need to do the instructions, okay. You already write it. So depending upon how your Docker content code is there. If you see the Docker images, I'm sure you must be knowing about it. There's a developer utility in the sense that developer can build, deploy, test, and create the environments. That's the purpose of a Docker images. So when you're trying to build a Docker images, indirectly we're trying to construct a program. So when you're trying to construct a program, you'll say, hey, this is the location where I have my software, this is where I want to get it installed. So all those things will be taken care of by the developer, except yum update. Okay, any other way you're trying to do the installation, you have a complete control on what is the location you want to install it. Okay, and if you're trying to say that I want to put it into the root, it's a responsibility of the corresponding team or the admin to understand why he's trying to do that. Clear?
Yeah. So
I
I
hope
mean,
I answered you.
yeah, I know it's beneficial to, you know, it's always good to be, you know, having the control of the locations and stuff like that. But
Yes.
so you suggest not to use the yum update?
I strongly suggest, because you're not an OS admin. If you're a very good OS admin, you have a complete control. You can play around in whatever the way you want. But I strongly recommend not to do that, because you're not an hardcore OS admin. You're an hardcore JBoss admin. Clear?
Sure.
Cool. So if you have any questions, okay, related to the subsystem or anything, drop me an email, okay. Otherwise, we'll resume back tomorrow. And tomorrow also it will be around for 1 to 1 hour, 15 minutes, 20 minutes like that, okay. Unless until I don't get into any big discussions, okay.
Okay.
All
So
this.
same
Bye.
time. Yeah.
Same time, 8 a.m. Indian Standard Time.
Okay. Thanks. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.